Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today we are doing chapter 3 of the book, Align Your Health. Now, again, as I've said the past couple of weeks here, if you are a current client and you would like a copy of the book, just call the office or mention something at your next appointment, and we'll happily get you one or we'll set you one aside. If you were not a current client and you would like a book, just give our office a call and we will get you guys set up with a book. Our phone number is 779-423-2044. Okay, so today we are talking about chapter 3, which is the chapter on chiropractic. We are finally to the good stuff. So today we are going to be talking all about chiropractic, and I'm going to do my best to go from A to Z and let you guys know the reasons that you should be adjusted, what is being done, and why we should do it. So starting in chapter 3, first thing I want to talk about is actually in the middle of the chapter, is on page 34. So he's talking about how lifestyle isn't enough. And the reason I want to touch on this first is because, a lot of people say, I work out or I eat right and, I am healthy. I do yoga. But there's a few people who do those things that they haven't achieved the desired result. And one reason for that may be is because your nervous system may have interference on it, may have what we call subluxation, which I'll define for you in just a moment, which can impede the body's function to perform and operate like you want it to be at optimal health. And so looking through this, one thing that he does mention in that section is about stressors. Now, stressors can be emotionally, they can be chemically or biochemically, but they can also be physical. So you can get a emotional stressor, say from, stress at work, a bad relationship. You can have the biochemical stresses of, drinking or using recreational drugs. But there's also that physical aspect to it that you would get from your job, or say from something that you wouldn't think of, like say maybe sleeping, where you do that for a long period of time. And it does create I don't want to say pinch points, but they does create areas of your spine that are prone to being in pain. Now, the other part that I wanted to, before we jump into this, is at the end on page 45, where he's talking about chiropractic could be your missing link. Now, certainly eating right, exercising, those are good things. Those are definitely 2 of the 5 essentials that we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks in this book. But if your nervous system and your body is not functioning like it should, how well can you assimilate those nutrients from that food? How well do you absorb that? How well do you absorb the nutrients out of your supplements if the nerves to your stomach are being impinged? How well is your workout going if your entire spine is locked up and you have limited range of motion, muscles are always tight, you have trigger points in your back, your neck is always hurting? I mean, how effective can that exercise or that workout really be? And while it is effective, the truth of the matter is that it would be more effective if your body was functioning properly. Now, to dive back into the front of the chapter and chiropractic at its core, first thing that he talks about is chiropractic, and chiropractors are specifically dealing with the nervous system. Now, I know chiropractors make a big deal about the spine, as you see behind me here. Really, we don't care about the bones. Really, we care about what the bones and what your skull is protecting, which is your brain and your central nervous system. Because in order for anything in your body to happen, the message has to come from your brain, down your spinal cord, out those nerve endings to make that happen, out to your body, to make your heart beat, to make your lungs breathe, to make your stomach digest food, to make it so that you can understand what I'm saying, so that my arm moves, so that you can do anything. Now, the other definition I want to give you here before we really dive into this is something I mentioned earlier called subluxation. Now, the easy way to think of this is that it's a misalignment in your spine. It sometimes causes pain, but not always. But it always affects where that nerve is going and what it's controlling. Now, the reason that it doesn't always cause pain is because less than 10% of your nervous system is responsible for pain. The other 90% of your nervous system is responsible for doing things that you don't think about, keeping you alive at night, turning your water or the things that you drink or the things that you eat, turning those things into waste, healing cuts on your arm, letting you know that you have to use the bathroom, letting you know that you're hungry, keeping your heart beating even while you're alive. Keeping in mind, you've never had to tell your body to do any of these things, yet it does them. And that is something that we chiropractors call the innate intelligence. There's just something in the body that keeps us alive. And, while, yes, it is our nervous system, even dead people have nervous systems. So what is it about that keeps you alive, that keeps your body responding and doing what you need to do? We call it the innate intelligence, okay? Now, going into the next, and which is why I wanted to point out this, which is why this is the first essential. So it used to be the second essential, and when we rebranded from maximized living to max living, we bumped it to the very first essential. Reason being is because it's so important for the things that I've already mentioned. How well is the food that you eat going to be absorbed into your body? How well is your workout going to go? How well are you going to sleep if your body's not functioning like it should? Now, reason being that, like I said, it's the most important essential. So we had to move it to number one, and mindset took a little bit of a step back here. Now, moving forward, again, section is talking about all about the spine. So there's 24 pre-sacral segments, or there's 24 segments here that you see in purple, blue, and green. So this purple section here is known as your neck. This blue section is where your mid-back would be, or your thoracic spine. Green is known as your lumbar spine. Most people are familiar or have at least heard of the lumbar spine because the very large majority of the population has an issue or a low back issue or a problem with their lumbar spine. Now, the other part about this is that it needs to be perfectly straight from the front. When you look at your spine from the front, it needs to be perfectly straight, hips level. And when you look at it from the side, it needs to have these three distinct curves. One here in your neck, one here in your mid-back, one here in your low back. When your spine's in this position, your body's able to function and heal like it's designed to. And when you lose a curve in your neck, you can see that curve is no longer at 45 degrees. When you lose a curve in your neck, it makes it very easy for your spine to shift. Now you can see the result, the pressure on these nerves. This is what's called subluxation. Misalignment of the spine sometimes causes pain, always affects where that nerve goes. And what you'll notice is, if I was to turn this here so that you can see my chart, you will notice that no matter where these nerves go, so the ones here in the neck, these are going to control most of the functions in your head, in your neck, although the one here at the top does control all the functions of your body, as you'll notice. The ones here in your mid-thoracics are going to control the things that are mainly in your thoracic cage or in your mid part of your body, heart, lungs, stomach. The ones here in your lower part with your lumbar, you'll see those are going to control the things in the lower part, stomach, intestines, reproductive organs, colon, and so on, and those sorts of things. So this is why you can get an adjustment and it will relieve your back pain or your neck pain, mid-back, but it also will help your heart function better. It'll also help your intestines function better, also help you sleep better, give you more range of motion because the muscles are less tight. All right, let's move forward. Keep talking about the spine here. Get back to my page. I lost my page. Sorry about that. I mentioned muscles. The bones of the spine anchor the muscles of basically your entire body to them. So when you have, say, mid-back off center, so say you have a problem here off center, it absolutely can be coming from your back, from the center, from the spine, because those nerves are controlling those muscles. So the muscles always do what the nerves tell them to do. So if you have tight muscles in your back, it's a response to what the nervous system is telling them to do, because they're saying, hey, protect me. The nervous system is so important. It's the only system in your body that's totally encased in bone. Now, be that as that may, that's why those muscles want to protect it, because because it's so important. And so just as if you saw what happened to Christopher Reeve, Superman, when his C1 got a burst fracture, had pressure put on that, anything below C1 didn't work. which is the same thing if you get a spinal injury here, mid-back or lower back, anything below that will not work properly if it's severed, because that is just, that nervous system is so important. Now, speaking of those types of traumas, that is actually the next section that we're talking about, spinal trauma and these spinal abnormalities. Now, the most common trauma is obviously things like sports injuries, slips and falls, car accidents. But one of the things that I mentioned before that you wouldn't necessarily think of is sleeping. We spend 8 hours a night sleeping. And if you're sleeping in the wrong position, you're absolutely doing detriment to your spine, to your nervous system, and ultimately your health. Next thing is posture. Now, a lot of us don't have the best posture, either from our job, from sitting, or the things that we do in the evening when we're done. So most common position for people who have a desk job is going to be what? They're going to have shoulders rounded, head forward, and they're here, right? Now, I'm 35, okay? And if I walk around like this the rest of my life, and I had another 35-year-old that stood here and was perfectly straight, who would you say has better health? Who is going to ultimately live longer? Who's going to have better health as they age? Obviously, the person that's standing straighter, because you have to, so proper posture from the side is ear over the shoulder, shoulder over the hip, hip over the toe, or excuse me, hip over your heel. So if you're in this position, there's no way your ear is over your shoulder, which is adding extra stress to the most important nerves in your spine, which are your neck, because those are the closest to your brain. So any message that comes from the brain has to pass through the neck to get to the rest of the body in order to keep you alive. Now, in addition to our jobs, causing those stressors, a lot of us do repetitive jobs, even myself. I'm looking down all day and I'm doing a lot of pushing, which is the reason that you have to continue or to start getting adjusted and then continue, because you're not going to, what's going to happen if you start getting your spine corrected and then keep the same hobbies, keep the same job, do the same things, you eventually go backward. So, and in light of that, if you are a current client, you've probably seen this before. Now, for those of you who aren't, this is called a function chart. Now, over here, we have full function, 100%. This is optimal health. This is where you want to be, right? 0% over here is death, obviously. If your body's not functioning at all, you are not functioning at all either, and you're dead. Now, the thing that you see here in the middle is 60%. That's when symptoms start, which means that you have to have lost somewhere between about 40% function before you start to get your first neck pain, before you start to get first indigestion, which means if you don't have any pain, but you're not seeing a chiropractor, you're operating somewhere between this 60 and 100% scale. Where? We don't know. However, the moment you get your first, like I said, symptom, neck pain, back pain, headache, you're already below the 60% mark. Now, getting adjusted, taking the pressure off your nervous system will get you back up above the 60%, get you to not feel the pain or have that symptom. But what happens if you get over here and then you stop getting adjusted? What do you think is going to happen? Are you going to stay here, or are you going to tend to go back? Now, keep in mind, your health is never stagnant. You're never staying in one spot. You're either always getting healthier or you're getting sicker. So naturally, the answer is going to be that you're going to start to slide back under the 60% mark, which if you do see a chiropractor and you only go for pain, this is the cycle that you have gotten yourself into. You're dancing around the 60% with symptoms. So it's like, I hurt, I need an adjustment. I go get an adjustment. I don't hurt. I feel good. A month later, I hurt. And you get caught up in this cycle of using chiropractic as almost if like it's medicine, instead of correcting the problem and constantly moving this way and then maintaining it and keep moving this way until you are essentially at optimal function at 100% or as close as you can absolutely get with your body, depending on the limitations of the matter. Now, moving on, next page, he outlines from the spine to the body, and he goes through and he pretty much is outlining what I was mentioning to you when I was showing you the nerve chart, how the things in your neck are going to relate to the head and neck function. So if you're getting headaches or sinus issues, allergies, those are going to be related to your neck. Even the nerves at the base of your neck are going to be related to heart and lung function as they start to go down into your thoracic cage, which will be also related to stomach, gallbladder, liver. As you move down into the lumbar, again, those are going to be things like intestines, kidneys, your reproductive organs, form something known as the sciatic nerve. So people who get sciatic pain, 100% a pinched nerve, and that can absolutely be helped by a chiropractic. Now, the one thing that he does, he talks about research in here. So if you don't see a chiropractor and you're 18% of the population is analytical and they need research. And so if you are one of those people, I encourage you to get on PubMed. Each chiropractic college has their own research company or own research facility. So you can easily get on one of those and look at the research. But, ultimately, research is never going to push you over the edge. You can educate and educate and educate and yourself, but eventually you just have to experience it. So if you're not someone who does see a chiropractor, I would encourage you to do a little research and then go in and get yourself a set of x-rays and an examination and see if you can be helped by chiropractic. Because one thing Dr. BJ just says in here is a quote from Dr. Jim Parker, who started Parker College of Chiropractic down in Texas. As he says, chiropractic works, it gets results, and that's what counts. And anybody who's ever seen a chiropractor can tell you that they feel better. And it's hard to argue with results. And that's why Dr. Jared, myself, and the other doctors here, we just have a simple saying that just says that life is better with chiropractic. And it just is. So, again, if you guys need this book, please reach out to us and get a copy of it. Otherwise, we'll be back. I'll be back to do next chapter on Friday, which is chapter 4. It's on food. It's called Eat Well to Live Well. And we'll go through that in depth. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, comment, all those things. And I'll see you next week. Have a great week. God bless. Love you guys.